Hi, this is Haley Wood, and this is my case study for EDL 853 when a student's rights are wronged. So first, a summary of the case. Miguel is a high school sophomore at Nottingham High School, and he was injured in a football game that left him paralyzed. Due to this, he then needed to use a wheelchair for assistance. After his injury occurred, his parents met with Miss Gussman, the school counselor, and they told her that he would be using a wheelchair and that would be the only assistance that he would need would be that his classrooms be wheelchair accessible. So a few weeks later, once Miguel was cleared, he returned to school, and Miss Gussman called him into the office, and she said that his schedule had to change because the biology classroom was not wheelchair accessible. So he would be taking another science class that would still fulfill his requirements for graduation. But the next day, his mom called the principal and wanted to meet with him immediately. And in that meeting with the principal, she expressed that he needed to take biology because it was a requirement for the college he wanted to attend, and she demanded that he be placed in that class. And towards the end of the meeting, Mr. Hernandez came in with Howard Carey, their attorney, and towards the end of that meeting, the attorney asked the principal if he realized that they were in violation of Section 504 and that they weren't providing Miguel the appropriate accommodations that he needed. So some of the legal and ethical issues that occurred in this case, there was no physical harm done, but Miguel is being denied access to a class that he needs for college. No confidentiality was broken, but there was discrimination present. The two laws that were broken is the Americans with Disabilities Act, which prohibits discrimination against individuals with disabilities. And Section 504 is for students who have a physical or mental impairment that substantially limits one or more major life activities. So due to Miguel being in a wheelchair, these are the laws that are being of concern. So next, what has happened or is happening? In one sentence, Nottingham High School is not adequately providing the necessary accommodations for Miguel, a student who uses a wheelchair for assistance. So some of the facts, the people in the case. We have Miguel Hernandez, a sophomore in high school. He was injured while playing football and he now uses a wheelchair for assistance. He is the student of concern in this case. Ms. Gussman is the high school counselor. She is the one who initially met with the parents, and then later on she changed Miguel's schedule so he wouldn't be in biology due to the classroom not being wheelchair accessible, even though when she met with the parents that was their only request, that they told her that he would need to have access to his classes with the wheelchair. Next, we have Mr. and Mrs. Hernandez, and they are Miguel's parents. They're the ones demanding that Miguel be reinstated in biology class due to him needing it for the college that he is attending. Next, we have Howard Carey. He is the attorney representing Miguel, and he is the one that told the principal that he is not receiving the services that he needs and referencing the laws that are in violation. And I am the principal, and I was contacted by Miguel's mother after his schedule was changed, and then I met with her. And then, like I said before, Miguel's father and attorney entered at the end of the meeting. So this case occurs in the Dover Unified School District at Nottingham High School, which has about 3,200 students. This is the only high school in the district, and most of the building is brought up to code to accommodate individuals with disabilities and to be wheelchair accessible. But about 1/4 of the building was original from when it was built in the early 1950s and not wheelchair accessible. The classroom of concern is the biology classroom, which is not wheelchair accessible, but as I said before, some of the school is, so there are other classrooms in the school that are wheelchair accessible and do accommodate these individuals that might have disabilities. So the program, it is a public high school, and Miguel needs biology for that class as it is required for the university that he wants to attend after high school. And Ms. Gussman enrolled Miguel in another science class that she told him would fulfill the requirements for graduation, but the concern is that it is not fulfilling his college requirements. So the reputation of the school could be at stake. Mr. and Mrs. Hernandez moved to this area and sent Miguel to this school because it was very highly recommended for academics and as well as sports. So the reputation of the school could be inhibited with this case. There could be charges inflicted on the school depending how the case plays out, how the lawsuit goes. So the outcome of this case, it affects the student, him needing the education, especially as he moves forward and goes on to college. The parents are affected by their child. The principal and the counselor are also have a role in this as what they do to help provide the student with what he needs. And the school district and the attorney, everyone involved kind of has the outcome affects them. So what I would do is I would consult the superintendent and the board members, just informing them of what is going on, so they're aware if I need to, when I need to further get their input and move forward with the situation. So in this case, I would need more on the ADA requirements and the process and requirements for the 504 plan. So this is something, those are the next steps I'd like to take moving forward. So some of the options that I would take, as well as the consequences associated with those options. So the first option would be to do nothing. Miguel would stay in the current science class he's enrolled in and not be taking biology. So some of the consequences with this, the parents would move forward with the lawsuit most likely. It would inhibit the relationship with the parents as the principal is not doing what the parents are requesting and not giving the student what he needs. With the lawsuit could come a heavy price that the school would have to pay. They're not meeting the needs of Miguel. And once again, the reputation of the school could be at stake. Option 2, you could make immediate changes and make all classrooms wheelchair accessible. So this would take a fair amount of money to make these changes to the school. And it was said that the school does not have this in the budget, and that's why these changes have not been made to the school as a whole. And this would also take a lot of time. There would not be an immediate solution. There could be construction beginning fairly soon, but it would still take time to make those classrooms accessible, and this would be hard to do during the school year because then you'd have to find an alternate place for these students to go with their classes. So during the summer would be the best time for the construction to occur. Option 3, you could make temporary changes and move the biology class to a different location. Some consequences with that, if you move it to another room, that classroom may not be equipped with what the teacher needs for the biology class, and this could result in a loss of learning. You could have 2 classes switch. So for example, switch with an English class, they'd move to the biology classroom, but then once again, you're then disrupting 2 classes as you switch those roles of the classrooms. This could upset the teachers, the biology teacher, as well as if you have to change, completely could change their lesson plans, like I said, if they don't have the equipment that they need. And this is also really not a permanent solution. Miguel is only a sophomore in high school, so he has 2 more years at high school here, and also future students. This just does not provide a future solution. And then the fourth option would be to make those temporary changes of moving the biology class, but also creating a plan. Move forward with a 504 plan for Miguel, and also review the district plan. Some consequences here, you do have a little bit of loss of learning as you change those classrooms as I stated above. And when you're reviewing the district plan, it could be noted that you do need to do construction to make these classrooms wheelchair accessible. And once again, that could require money that is not in the school's budget. And that also takes time. The 504 plan could be started fairly quickly. It still may take a few weeks, but reviewing the district plan and making changes there, that would take a longer amount of time. So some pros and cons of the options. So option 1, doing nothing. Pros, no immediate changes have to happen right away, and there's a chance that you could win the lawsuit, even though it doesn't look very favorable for the school here. Some cons, there could be legal fees associated with it, and also losing the lawsuit would be some cost associated with that. Miguel's needs are not being met. We're not providing him with what he needs to be successful in the classes he needs for college. The school's reputation is at stake, and the relationship with the parents. Some pros and cons of option 2, where you make all classrooms wheelchair accessible. We would then be ADA compliant all across the school and meet Miguel's needs, but the cost is one of the major cons there, as well as it not being an immediate solution, and learning time would be lost, and there still could be a potential lawsuit if the parents find a way, something that you're not providing that immediate needs of Miguel. The third option, moving the biology class, some pros: you'd be ADA compliant, potentially avoid the lawsuit. Cons, you'd have upset teachers. Learning would be lost due to the location of the classroom or interruption of the classes switching locations. And once again, this is not a long-term fix. Miguel, those next 2 years and beyond what the students need would not be met with this. Option 4, the temporary changes and the plan. So the pros: Miguel's needs would be met in writing through that 504 plan, ensuring that he receives the assistance that he needs. You would avoid a lawsuit, become ADA compliant, and future needs would be met if changes are made to make the whole building wheelchair accessible. Some cons: you'd have still upset teachers, possibly. Learning would be lost due to the changes, and you may need to bring in outside personnel to kind of help with the changes or the plans that are being made. And another con is the time that it would take to develop this plan and make those changes necessary. So I feel that the best option is option number 4, where the temporary changes are made, and then there's a 504 plan developed for Miguel, and the district plan is completely evaluated and revamped if necessary. So I feel this meets the short-term needs. The 504 plan, the legal document we create, we would involve the parents as well as other stakeholders in doing what is best for Miguel. In the long-term plan, we'd have some professional development so that way our counselor as well as all others are then more aware of the special education laws. There could be changes made to the building, and then it would help the long-term Miguel and the rest of his high school career as well as the future students that we have. So implementation: first, I would contact the superintendent as well as the board and a lawyer if necessary, just so we're kind of all on the same page of what is needed. Next, I would meet with Ms. Guzman and the teachers that it would be affecting, those teachers that will be changing classrooms to make the short-term accommodations for Miguel that are necessary. I would then meet with Ms. Guzman, Mr. and Mrs. Hernandez, and the lawyer if the parents request. In that meeting, I would share our temporary plan to provide the services for Miguel, as well as our long-term plan to help him for the rest of his high school career, as well as just changes we would make to the school as a whole. In this meeting, I would make sure to get plenty of input from the parents on what they feel Miguel needs, as well as any other changes we need to make. I would also start the 504 implementation here with the parents. Fill out the necessary paperwork with them, get the meeting scheduled so we can just get the process started. And then the change of the classroom location would occur, whether biology be moved to a separate location or 2 classes are switched. Whatever space the school kind of has is what would depend on that. And then lastly, I would meet with the superintendent and board members to begin addressing plans for future compliance. We would review the policies that the school district has in place. We would start developing professional development regarding FAPE, 504, and ADA, so that way our teachers are all aware of these laws and what we need to do, and then begin making building changes if they could be short-term or over the summer if there's any major ones, if we can find room within the budget to make these changes. So the outcomes: plan B, the parents may not be satisfied with the plan that we have come up with. They could move forward with a lawsuit, but hopefully by the changes we've made, this would make it they would be satisfied, and we'd also be in compliance because we are providing Miguel with the appropriate services now that he is being provided the opportunity to take biology still in the classes that he needs. I would get a lawyer involved to represent the school if needed, but if I can deal with it just with the parents without doing that, I would like to take that step just so it's more personal with them, and I'm showing that I am doing what I can to help them and help Miguel. And with the parent input, we could look at some online options if they're not satisfied with the switching of the location of the biology classroom, or if he could take another required class and possibly take biology next year. Just kind of seeing what the parents feel on all of this so we can do what is best for Miguel to provide him with what he needs to be successful. Thank you.